All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, talk about strategies, tips, share techniques, and success stories. As a 501c3, we've received a grant built around two concepts: building financial literacy and concurrently increasing access to capital so more small business owners, more entrepreneurs can start and grow small businesses. With that being said, I have my screen shared today, and I know it's a bit of a busy screen, but I want to walk you through the new Shelf Corp checklist. We had an opportunity to get together with our top 10 referral partners. So thank you for all of you that participated in kind of our workshop working group last night. And we put this together and we're excited to roll it out. So this is a new tool that we're going to start using for each Shelf Corp client. So they have kind of a one-page, concise snapshot of what do we need to do, what's the order in which we're going to do it, and some other key concepts. So let's go ahead and go through it from top to bottom. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, type it into the Q&A. It's like a chat box of Zoom. So starting in the top left-hand corner, thank you for purchasing a fundable Shelf Corp. And then right away, we want to make sure that they know that they have a person that they can call for assistance. And her name is Madison. She works at the nonprofit 903-352-3390. So right off the bat, we're showing gratitude that they've enrolled and we're getting them in contact with their primary resource. Secondly, we give them instructions. Please consider using this checklist as we prepare for funding. Because I know, you know, what these folks want. They want funding. They want to do the least amount of work in the least amount of time to get the desired goal, which is funding. But we have to have a fundable business if we want business funding, and that's what you and I deliver. So going back to point 2, please consider using this checklist as we prepare for funding. Keep in mind that you should have viewed the 27 mistake training video. We provide them the 27 mistake training video link when we send them their Shelf Corp documentation, but we're going to also include the link here, and it's up on our YouTube channel. Because the 27 mistakes is about a 45, 50-minute discussion of what keeps people from getting funded. So conversely, what do we need to do to get funded? So you all should be familiar with it, and we want them to be familiar with it, so we're reiterating it right away. Thirdly, this checklist is designed to be in order of events as they normally occur. Now, we're going to work with them. It's not like it's a do-it-yourself or here's a checklist, go figure it out. It's not that at all. But we do want to give people a better roadmap of what's going to happen and what are the steps. So let's go through those steps. So we have a table here, and it has a topic column, essentially a yes, I have it, or no, I don't. But we don't want to use no, it's a little strong. So need to address, and then just some notes. So let's go through. Now, of course, to start with this, step 0, which isn't shown, is they need to enroll in the Fundable Shelf Corp program, of course. But once we're in it, then they get the checklist. So let's take it from there. They're going to need to get funding because the goal is to get funding. They're going to need a fundable business entity with an EIN. But guess what? They already have that. That box is already checked because we provide that with the Shelf Corp program. Takes us about 7 days to get all those deliverables, but they don't have to worry about that. We're delivering step 1. They also are going to need a business plan with financial projections to qualify for larger business loans. No worries, that's included in the Shelf Corp. They don't have to go figure out what to put in a business plan or figure out how to do financial projections, provided for them. Third, commercial address. You know this and I know this, but a lot of people overlook this. You need a good commercial address for a business to be fully fundable. No worries, they already have it. We provide that. And then also, we know that there's collateral, right? We need collateral for large business loans. A lot of these people aren't like you and I. A lot of them don't have collateral. But guess what? Now they do. Yes, they have it. It's included. So these four columns, or four rows, I'm sorry, are essentially just clarifying these are very important, but these are included, and they'll be coming to you in about 7 days. Anyone have questions on the first four rows before we get into the items that need to be worked on? Because the end goal is to get funding and then reimburse them for the purchase price. So we want to just reiterate what comes with it, right? And so that comes with it because it's in the agreement. It's what we say, it's what we do, it's what we promise, it's what's in the agreement. Okay. Now this is from and I think most people understood these four rows. What there was some confusion or lack of clarity of what happens next in what order. And again, thank you for our top producers getting together with us last night. We spent about 2.5 hours working on this. So now we've got a really nice checklist and it's in order. It's in order. This is the order that we should be going through. So what do you know about funding? There's the 3 C's: credit, collateral, capacity. Well, when they buy a shelf corp, we provide the collateral, so check that box. We're going to provide the trade lines, which we'll get down on row 18. But capacity, cash flow is also important. Now, do all types of funding require a business to be cash flowing already? No. In some cases, can we just use the financial projections to show that we're going to be cash flowing down the road? Yes. But best practice is to have all 3 C's. And there's one of those 3 C's that really comes down to the business owner, right? And that's the capacity, the cash flow. When they buy a shelf corp, they're getting a management consulting firm that is ready to make money. So we want them to be very clear on that. We call that the opportunity fund. We want them to consider, at least, it's not a requirement, but encourage them to engage in that. The opportunity fund is designed to put 5,000 a day deposits into the business bank account so it looks strong. Now, as far as notes, we have been sending them the reseller implementation packet, which gives them the tools, resources, and training to be able to start making money with their new shelf corp. And again, if they don't have it, then they can call Madison and that number matches up here. So row 10. Why is row 10, so in other words, it's the 5th going down. Why is it so important? Because we know that businesses that show cash flow have more borrowing capacity than broke businesses. But again, not all sources of capital require a business to have cash flow, but best practice is let's run this business like a business. Let's start making some money. Okay, next, complete credit analysis and free credit assistance. Again, it's included in the shelf corp. We're not, there's no fee for this. There's no fee for row 11 either. So the credit analysis and free credit assistance. So we email them instructions. It gives them a link to do the soft pull, gives them a link to schedule for the credit consult. They should know it already. They should already be doing this, but if not, they can call Madison and she can resend that email. Because what we see sometimes is some of these folks, when they're first coming in, they're using Gmail or Hotmail, AOL, porn.com, a lot of these consumer email accounts. And so they're not seeing our emails because the emails are going into promotions or spam, because a lot of what we send have attachments or links. So this is a great reference point so they can say, oh, hey, I've not done this. Okay, well, if you don't see the email, that's okay. Contact Madison, she'll send it again. Next is optional. So we're providing 100,000 of collateral. We said that up front. That's true. That's real. It's in the form of accounts receivable. If they want us to, we can liquidate that. They don't have to, but if they want to liquidate that, we need to start considering that right away. And the notes here is essentially we can turn that AR into cash for them. So that's not instead of the loan or the funding, because remember, there are 3 economic benefits of purchasing a fundable shelf corp. One is getting the funding, which we haven't gotten to yet. One of which is liquidating the AR. And the third of which is having a business that literally makes money, earned income. All right, next, mail forwarding. So we send them a lease. We don't charge them for the lease, but we need to substantiate that commercial address because increasingly lenders are wanting a copy of the lease. So we are going to provide them a full lease. It's like 14 pages long. You look at it, say, oh my gosh, but we're not charging for the lease, but it's the documentation to substantiate that commercial address. So we want to make sure that they have that. And again, if they don't have it, no worries, call Madison and she can resend it to them. Next, so with this, I should say, so we it gives them the lease and then we do the mail forwarding. We send them their mail every Wednesday. So today, for instance, is mail day. All right, next, business phone number. It's one of those things that's in the column that they need to do. So we don't provide a business phone number. Pretty much everything else we've provided, but we don't provide a business phone number. They can get the business number wherever they want. We know that, and we learn up here in the 27 mistakes that the business phone number should not be a cell phone number. That doesn't meet credibility standards. They can get it wherever they want. We recommend ruby.com. Ruby.com, we have no financial relationship with, but ruby.com will give you the business number and then they'll also answer it. So you look professional because businesses need to look professional. And then we need to list that on directory assistance, and that's free and easy on listyourself.net. So this is an action step that they need to be involved with. Business website and email address. We need to have a business website and email address. We can provide that if they would like. And just yesterday, we had the training on the reseller marketing program, the RMP. So if you missed that, you can go back to yesterday's training. And actually, the link is here. So if they want us to provide them a business website and email, we can through the RMP. If they want to do their own, they can do their own. Next, bank account. No, we're not a bank. We don't provide a bank account. Some people say, well, why don't you include the bank account with the initial deliverables? Well, a bank account has to have a signer, someone that's authorized to write checks to conduct transactions. If that's us, then it's really our bank account and the new Shelf Corp owner is not on it. So it's easier to just allow the Shelf Corp owner, once we've delivered the Shelf Corp, we've gone through these steps, now they're ready to go in and open their bank account. One of the topics that we had in the work group last night was moving this down because originally we had this earlier in the process, but it's best to go ahead and have the phone number and website and email before we go to the bank so the bank gets all this information. So the bank account, now they can go to whatever bank they want, but best practice is to go to a bank that also offers business credit cards and or lines of credit. Because our experience is once you become an account holder with the bank, it's normally really easy then to talk to that same person and say, hey, also I want to get a business credit card and a line of credit. We did it with Wells Fargo, for example. So we had a Wells Fargo account. It was crazy simple then to go get a big line of credit and a business credit card because you're already in their system. They like to do business with their current account holders. So there's the bank account. Next is QuickBooks. QuickBooks is something that they'll need to do. Technically, they don't have to do this, but QuickBooks allows us to track the money coming in and out and generate the financial reports. So we're providing the projections up here. You know, no one's taking that away from them, but for our history, you know, what actually came in and profit and loss and balance sheet and all that, our best bet is to use, in our opinion, QuickBooks. So we recommend that here on row 17. On row 18, we're going to add business trade lines. So this is included with the Shelf Corp. So what we're going to do is work with them to get their DUNS number and then start adding trade lines. And normally we're going to add 4 trade lines, and we're going to talk towards the bottom about the breakdown of how that normally works. We'll work with them on what trade lines they want, but they're real. They're primary usable trade lines. And then we're going to want to use Dun & Bradstreet's credit insights to track it. because even though we've added the 4 trade lines, we need them to report so the rest of the world knows that we have them. And the best way to do that is D&B Credit Insights. And we've provided the link to get that real simple. So now we're ready to go for the big funding. Now, some people get disappointed and say, well, wait, we had to wait till now to get the big funding. Well, these business trade lines are real, right? So when we're talking about business credit cards, business lines of credit, business automobiles, equipment financing, that's real, that's usable to the client. But we do want to get those 4 trade lines reported so we have an 80 plus paydex score. So we're ready for the big boy funding. Once in a while, we'll have clients that say, no, 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 I don't want to do the trade lines. I want to skip that step. That's their prerogative. If they want to skip that step, or frankly, any of the steps, they can. But best practice is to get the trade lines on, which are real, usable primary trade lines. Then we can go to funding and financing. We prefer to not do anything less than $1 million because it's the same amount of work. It just makes sense to do a larger capital raise. Most of the capital raises we're doing right now are 1 to 3 million. We guarantee 100,000, so I know that that's different than $1 million. So we contractually guarantee at least 100,000, but usually we can do much more. We recommend raising at least a minimum of $1 million just so it makes it worthwhile. All right, and then now we've completed the process. So now we exit the program, which allows them to get reimbursement from the grant for up to $20,000 for the purchase price of the shelf corp. But the prerequisite is they've completed the checklist because we're measuring outcomes, right? So when you apply for grants, there's strings attached. Now, you didn't have to apply for the grant, we did. So we need to document for each client that we did these things and what the outcome was. So if they follow our guidance, they follow our model, then they're going to qualify for a full reimbursement of the cost of the shelf corp, which again, fundable shelf corp should cost the client nothing up front, nothing out of pocket. Our resellers get them under contract, we get them a finance app, and we get funding for them. But the nice thing is it's reimbursed. So are there any questions on what I covered here? I have some really important information still at the bottom I want to go through. All right, well, I'll give you a moment to answer or to put any questions. So the timeline. So first of all, as I mentioned before, they need to buy the shelf corp. The shelf corp is an asset. So it's like a car, a couch, real estate. You have to buy the asset before you can use it. Now, we have great financing options, including some with no minimum credit score. So everyone will be able to get a shelf corp. But just to clarify, they need to make it theirs first. You don't go get money off of someone else's business. You raise money off of your business. So it's kind of obvious. Just wanted to clarify. Then we're going to get the shelf corp to them, and we want to follow these steps in order, in order, in order. If they have questions, they're stuck, they have concerns, what are they going to do? They're going to call Madison, 903-352-3390. Number 3 down here is really important, and I hit on it before, but I want to go through it again, is that we want them to run their shelf corp like a business. Even if the goal is to use the shelf corp to raise money to go other places, from a lender's perspective, they're looking at how the CEO of the business, the shelf corp buyer, is running this business. So if you and I went out and bought a gas station, we would sell gas. We would sell Coke and Snickers bars in the convenience store. You wouldn't buy a business and not run it. I think some of our clients are overlooking that, and that ties back to what we were talking about up here. We want to show lenders that we have all 3 C's. Credit, great, we're going to provide credit. And if their personal credit's jacked up, we're going to help them with that here. Collateral, great, we're providing collateral. But capacity, in addition to what we're showing on projections, we want to show them that we're actually capable at running a business. So this is something that we should be able to start generating deposits for the participant right away, even while we're going through the process. Row 27, number 3. We're going to add primary trade lines. We've talked about that here. But just to clarify, the way that it normally works, doesn't have to be this way, but the way it normally works is we're going to add 2 business credit cards, real credit cards that they can use, 1 line of credit, real line of credit they can use, and 1 business automobile. You might say, well, why a business automobile? It doesn't have to be, but a business automobile adds a big trade line. It's a big trade line. And of course, it's tax deductible, and most people need transportation anyway. If they already have a car, we could switch their current car into the business so they don't have to get an additional car. But again, we'll work with them on what their mix is of trade lines that they want. But adding trade lines is best practice because it increases the probability of us being successful here. If we decide to skip row 18, this makes 19 more volatile because the business doesn't look like it's established. And so then what are we going to do? We're going to be able to go for large funding. So that's the timeline. One last thing, and then we'll open it up for questions. I wanted to just review some of the key concepts that we've discussed before and how it fits into this. So number one, if you want business funding, you need to have a fundable business. And that seems kind of common sense, but you have a lot of people that just say, no, I just want business funding. Skip all of this. I just want business funding. Well, do you have a fundable business? A lot of times they don't know. But almost always the answer is no. Well, you can't do that. You can't skip it. You can't just say, hey, bank, loan me $1 million, even though my business doesn't look fundable. It doesn't happen that way. All right, next, we guarantee a minimum of 100,000, but the client needs to participate, and we put that in writing, so it's not a secret. So there's no maximum. We can go as high as they want. Now, of course, they have to qualify. It's not monopoly, so we can go after $1 million or $3 million or more. They have to qualify for that, so that's going to make some changes to like the collateral. We provide 100,000 of collateral because the Shelf Corp is designed for $100,000 capital raise. If they want more than 100,000, we might have ourselves a collateral shortfall. Depends on the use of funds. So we'll work with them on that. But the bottom line is we guarantee the results, but the client does need to participate. And that surprises some people. Not a whole lot, because of the Shelf Corp, we're doing most of the heavy lifting for them, but they still need to be involved. It's their business, right? All right, number 3. The 3 C's, which I mentioned earlier: credit, collateral, capacity. Are we providing collateral? Yes. Are we providing credit? Yes, both on the personal and business side. But and we can project capacity, but when it comes to actually putting deposits into the account, we would like the client to actually run the management consulting business because it's ready to run. And so that's what we discussed here, and we discussed it again here. So do they have to do that? No, but you have to understand, if we don't have strong 3 C's, we're going to have less borrowing capacity. All right, number 4, there are 3, and I made reference to this a moment ago, there are 3 economic benefits from fundable shelf corporations. If they're not familiar with those, there's a training video linked here. And essentially, in summary, it's the ability to get business loans and financing. It's the ability to liquidate the AR and get that 100,000, and it's the ability to get those $5,000 a day daily deposits. Number 5, at any time you can sell your shelf corporation. So this is an asset that they own. And we've seen people go through this process and then flip or sell their shelf corp at a huge profit. So we're not encouraging that. We're just reminding people, yeah, it's going to be, it's valuable what we provide here. But once we have done all of this, it's 100 times valuable. All right, let's see here. We have daily Zoom trainings. We're doing it live now. We encourage everyone to join us. And if they're not familiar with it, in the reseller implementation packet that was referenced here, they have the invitation to join us live and see the past trainings. And we're absolutely committed to the client success. So if they're stuck, they're frustrated, they're concerned, first step is to call Madison, or they can actually schedule a call, calendly.com, 4-week funding. So our goal today was to go through the Shelf Corp checklist, so we all have a better understanding of the process, the specifics, the intricacies, the timeline, and to be able to reiterate some of the key concepts. So we'll be making this available to each new Shelf Corp participant going forward. Thank you all for your time. We'll be back tomorrow morning and we can dig into all of your questions. We'll spend the entire session tomorrow going through your questions, comments, concerns. There's too many to cover in our remaining 4 minutes. See you back tomorrow and we'll dig into Q&A on this. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.